You're never going to believe this. Coming up, an icon of the 80s was using a urinal in this bathroom when a fan recognized him, and he came up midstream and started talking to him. And this actually inspired a big 80s hit. And then a few years later, another 80s icon was using the bathroom of a woman that he had come home with. And he heard a strange noise in the adjacent bathtub in her bathroom. And he pulled back the shower curtain and he found this huge monster lurking, which inspired another great 80s song. I guess urinals inspire big hits. You can't make this stuff up. Stay with us and find out straight from these artists what happened next as we count down the 5 greatest underplayed hit songs you never hear anymore of the 80s. Next. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you've ever sat at a burger joint and asked the question, where's the beef? You're going to enjoy this channel. You know what I'm talking about here. Mega nostalgia, music history, the whole 9 yards. Make sure to subscribe below and make sure to check the box so you always know when our latest videos are coming out. My very first video on this channel, if you remember, was where I counted down 5 songs from the 80s that I absolutely love that never get the airtime that they deserve. I call it Hidden Gems, and I'll say it again like I said then. Have you ever noticed they seem to play, even more so now, the same 50, 80 songs on the radio and in movies and TV? I mean, no one loved the 80s more than I do, but it can become tiresome, right? Africa, Don't Stop Believing, Living on a Prayer, The Final Countdown, Take On Me, Every Breath You Take. I get it. I love these songs as much as the next guy. It's time to broaden the scope. Well, today I want to do something kind of fun where I count down my personal fiver of 5 80s hits that are vastly underplayed, even more so than the 5 I listed when I did that first video. These are songs you never hear. You never hear them on the radio. You never hear them in TVs or movies, and it needs to be changed. These songs haven't been used in our culture much, and it's time to change that. I'm actually going to include them in a playlist below so that you can listen to them and see if you agree. Make sure to click below and leave a comment. Give me your top 5 most underplayed songs of the 80s. Let's get into it. Number 5 is a song that came from very humble beginnings from a guy who had all but conquered 1981 with his brooding, sulking 80s smash Jessie's Girl. It's Affair of the Heart by Rick Springfield. Rick Springfield had been knocking out hit after Jessie's Girl. I mean, he had I've Done Everything for You and Don't Talk to Strangers. And then he hit number 9 with this little ditty, featuring the classic 80s guitar and synth dynamic duo that carried it all the way up the charts. Affair of the Heart was the lead single off of Springfield's platinum album, Living in Oz. Like I said, the song went to number 9 in 1983, and it was nominated for a Grammy for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance in the year that everyone in music got run over by that freight train called Michael Jackson Thriller. This is who Rick lost to for Beat It. This is what Rick said about it.
Affair of the Heart was really, it's really funny. This guy, we went to see the premiere of Live and Kicking, which was the first live show I did. I'm taking a whiz, right, in the public bathroom. This guy walks up, starts taking a whiz with me, and starts looking at me, right? I'm going, oh, dude, seriously? And mid-pee, hands me a tape, cassette tape, back when the cassette tape. He said, you got to hear this song. I wrote this song. You'll love it. I'm kind of going, whoa. How do I take this? So I took the cassette, right, and I got in my car and I threw it on the floor. And a couple of months later, I'm driving it to General Hospital, and I'm looking for something to play, and I see this tape, and I pick it up and I put it in, and I hear boom, 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 boom. awesome. And then it went into this song about Superman, and I go, oh, no. It's not awesome, but it's a great start. And so I took that intro and wrote a song around it while I was at General Hospital, actually. I remember sitting there with the keyboard and they're going, you know, Rick Springfield, you come on set. You know, I'm going, wait, I gotta finish this. So wrote a song around that which I think is still it's a great classic synth intro. It's still a fun song to do.
This song, along with many others, prove Rick's underappreciated prowess as a guitarist and a songwriter. His recent output is well worth a listen as well. Number 4, the undeniable ear stealer from a very underrated Aussie band. It's Electric Blue by Icehouse from the album Man of Colors. This top 10 hit from 1987 drips with ecstasy, pure delight. Iva Davies' vocal here is the highlight of a song full of 80s fixtures. I mean, sleek pop synthesizers, sophisticated background vocals, and a blow-em-out-of-the-water saxophone solo. Also co-written by John Oates and Daryl Hall and John Oates. Oates worked on this with Davies while taking a break from Hall & Oates to pursue outside projects. John was an Icehouse fan, I guess, and he tracked down Davies, suggesting that the two of them collaborate on some music. This is what John Oates told me about that.
Daryl and I have a very unique way of doing background vocals. People have always commented over the years, musicians and songwriters and people that I work with always say, man, I love your background vocals. I love your background vocals. It's just a thing, you know, it's a Philadelphia thing. It's a certain way of singing. And what a lot of people, I think, don't understand, or not, well, maybe they don't catch is that a lot of times our background vocals are actually our chorus.
Yeah.
That's kind of a unique stylistic thing that we do. You know, you look at Out of Touch, or even Man-Eater for that matter, Say It Isn't So. I mean, the backgrounds are the hook. So we don't treat backgrounds like we don't bury them back in the mix. We put them way up front, almost like a lead vocal.
Davies was an orchestral musician performing with the New South Wales Conservatorium of Music before quitting to form the Sydney-based band Flowers, which became Icehouse in 1980 after the band was forced to change their name because there was a band in Scotland who had already established a legal claim on the Flowers name. As a whole, Icehouse has had 13 top 20 hits in Australia, with Electric Blue hitting number 1 in their native Australia. It also went to number 4 in New Zealand and went to number 7 here in the States. Oh man, for me, the song Scales the Mountain and the big finale where, Iva Davies turns this song into just magic. He dials it up to 11 with this. Truly an exotic, rapturous pop song. Okay, as we go into the number 3 spot, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. Now, if you want to step up your style, you would be really wise to visit Zenni.com to check out their latest designs, colors, styles. You get to try them on virtually before you order to make sure that you will look your very best. Design your own pair at Zenni.com today. All right, coming in at number 3. So, sorry, I have to do it. I'm going to stretch or really break my own rule. It's because this song is so good. The story's even better. It didn't go to the top 10. I know that was my criteria, but it did hit the rock charts. So I'm gonna ask for a mulligan here. Sorry, folks. It's The Church with the shimmering guitar classic, Reptile. The Church seemed to come out of nowhere for most people with their 1988 masterpiece, Starfish. It's actually their 5th studio album. It was their breakthrough in the States as Under the Milky Way became a modern rock standard. I mean, if there ever was one. Under the Milky Way tonight. It hit number 24 on the pop charts. It hit number 2 on the rock charts. which has led to the song being used in scores of TV and film with its dark and eerie ambiance. It was used in Donnie Darko. I love how they used it there. Reptile is a classic in its own right, with its just bizarre and ghostly guitar part that instantly pulls you into its grasp like a snake. Here's what frontman Steve Kilby told me about it. I want to ask you about Reptile. Where did that start? Where did that come from? Because that guitar, it's just so distinct.
Yeah, I think Reptile did something we never quite managed to do again, and that is the way the parts all play against each other. Like, the Church has always been a band where it's not everything just doing the same thing at the same time. Everything's all working like a machine. I think that was the best ever example of that. The guitar line and the bass and the singing, everything it all happens in a different part of the song. It's sort of like it's a strange song. Too feeble to let go. I went home with this woman one night I met in Cantor's, Delhi. I went in the bathroom, I was having a piss, and there was a sound behind the shower curtain. I looked behind the shower curtain, there was a great big fucking lizard in there looking at me. And I was like, oh! And the woman goes, oh, you've met Rupert, or whatever his fucking name was. Oh! Whatever the it was, huge thing. I guess that had something to do with it. I was always fascinated by this idea you could get these little creatures, but after a while, you have to get rid of them because they get too big for you to manage. And yeah, the one day they're going to turn around and fucking bite you if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. I like that metaphor.
Coming in at number 2, it's one of the most memorable piano figures of the last 50 years by a band who we need to go more in depth on this channel. Maybe I can get an interview. It's The Captain of Her Heart by Double. This perfectly graceful slice of dream pop sat right at the midpoint of haunting and peaceful, depending on your mood or your nature.
Still couldn't fall asleep.
I always felt that it was quite eerie, yet a completely satisfying and transfixing melody whenever it came on the radio. Always hypnotized me into this harmonious trance.
The captain of the heart.
Written by the Swiss duo known as Double, comprised of lead singer guitarist Kurt Malou and then drummer keyboardist Felix Haag, who both wrote The Captain of Her Heart. Now, the song went to number 16 on the Hot 100 in the US, and it went to number 8 in the UK.
Cruise, not only for a day.
I always thought that the band was pronounced as Double, but then I heard a lot of people say Double. It is Double for sure. They were the first Swiss duo to have a top 40 hit in America. That's true. The ballad seems to be about a girl who stops waiting for her missing lover to come back.
For a cruise, not only for a day.
The beauty of the song is really in its simplicity. Kurt Malou's smooth, sophistopop croon with a breezy sax that supports it all, and most importantly, one of the best one-handed piano parts in all the 80s. For me, it was like The Captain of My Heart, and I Just Can't Get Enough by Depeche Mode. There's also Be Near Me by ABC. They had those one-handed piano parts that all of us in the 80s, all us kids tried to plink out for ourselves. This is a song to add to your collection ASAP. Kurt Malou recorded another version of the song with an even more jazzy feel years later.
The captain of the heart.
I'll link to that below as well. The thing is, I'm completely surprised, stunned that someone hasn't used this wonderfully cinematic song in a series or a film. I don't know, maybe it'll be in Stranger Things' final season. We can only hope. It's about the same time frame.
The captain of the heart.
Coming in at number 1, the very best song by a band who was much more well known for their 2 number 1 hits. I'm going with Overkill by Men at Work.
From Overkill.
This song was resurrected and reinterpreted when Colin Hay did an acoustic version of the song to open an episode of season 2 of the show Scrubs some years back.
Think about the implication. What? Diving in too deep.
It was a hit for Colin Hay and Men at Work in 1983 when it was released as the second single from Cargo. That was their follow-up to the #1 blockbuster album, Business as Usual. As I said before, when it comes to Men at Work, I mean, almost everybody refers to the pair of #1 hits that they had from Business as Usual, Who Can It Be Now, and Down Under.
She said, "Do you come from a land down under?"
I mean, both great songs, don't get me wrong. They'll live on radio forever. But for me, Overkill, it's their best song. It's always felt like a deeply personal composition. It's always spoken to me about my own personal demons and anxieties that usually rear their ugly heads at night.
Especially at night, I worry over a situation.
Hence the ghosts appear and fade away. I'm an insomniac, and this song has described my feelings perfectly on so many occasions. Just brilliant lyrics by Colin Hay that describe that panic that we've all felt at one time or another at 4 a.m.
I think about the implications.
Especially the first and third verse lyrics. I can't get to sleep. I think about the implications of diving into deep and possibly the complications.
And possibly the complications.
I worry over situations that I know will be all right. It's just overkill. Anybody that has anxiety knows what I'm talking about. Colin Hay captured both the fear and the hope equally in these lines. Here's some other thoughts from Colin on the song in our interview.
We were rehearsing. I brought the song to the band, and they were very non-committal. They didn't really. I was so excited about the song, but they were not. Well, maybe they were, but they were very completely undemonstrative about it. I got a little despondent, to be honest. And they went to have lunch, and I just recorded it myself. And I think they might have gotten a little bit upset by that, but maybe not. I can't really remember. But yeah, it's a song that I think has some. It's quite open in its interpretation, but it's got some kind of haunting quality to it. That chordally it goes to some interesting places, and because a certain amount of time has gone by, it does have a certain timeless quality to it.
It does.
I like. The song also was about the realization that nothing was going to be the same for us. You know, it was like diving into deep was like, here we go. It's like, this is happening. So even walking down the street was different. Everything changed. So it was like we couldn't go back anymore. You know, there was no going back then. It's like, okay, and so we don't know what's ahead.
Well, there you have it. My picks for the top 5 underplayed top 10 hits of the 80s. Make sure that you let me know your top 5 below. I'll give you one mulligan too. Let us know your favorite story from the artists who were involved in this top 5. I personally like Rick Springfield. He is so funny. The guy needs his own show, seriously. Make sure to subscribe if you like this channel and so you get more content, and we'd love to have you. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. Talk to you soon.